to the first episode of the Perfect Play. The podcast that teaches you how to make your next move your best move. I'm your host, the coach with the most coachable ever. Can't coach me, Tim Spicer. And I'm accompanied by the great galvanizers in this edutainment space, our PeerForward Coaches. Coaches and team, make some noise! Thanks for joining. Now let's just get our few cast to check in and say hello, introduce yourself. I've got DC and AJ on the line. Could you say hello to the people?
Good day. This is DC Howard. Glad to be here with the hostess, the awesome man known as Spice. Glad to be here, man.
Thanks, DC. Glad you're up on your feet. Welcome, my man.
Hey, it's your girl, AJ. Just here to, drop some hints and tips over from the marketing team. Glad to be here with you today, Tim. Ready for these perfect plays.
Thanks, AJ. AJ's here. This is definitely going to be giving us those tips and quips. What is it? How'd you say, AJ?
Tips and hints.
Tips and hints. She's going to drop those tips and hints for us during our interlude. So you make sure you stay around for the entire episode to check those out. But first, in true PeerForward fashion, we love to check in. We check in at every training. We check in at every meeting. We check in at every huddle. So it's only right that we check in for every episode. Check. Thank you. So feel free to take this check-in personally, as this people want to know what the heck and how the heck you're feeling at home during this pandemic. So our first check-in question goes to Aloysia Jean. What's one thing you've come to enjoy since the beginning of this COVID-19? I'm not saying you like coronavirus or love it. I just want to know, since the time has transpired, what's one thing you've come to enjoy?
My backyard. It gets the perfect amount of sun in the morning, and I just love going out there. Usually I only went out there to take out my trash, but now I'm just enjoying myself, soaking up my sun, staying melanated, staying hydrated, and, getting a nice amount of sun in the mornings.
Nice, AJ, that backyard. Everybody doesn't got that pleasure. I live in an apartment complex, so I'm glad you get to really enjoy that luxury. Way to get outside. DC, how about you? What's one thing you've come to enjoy?
Man, I can't even lie to you. Like, with my schedule normally being so very busy with PeerForward and just life itself, I don't normally get to catch up on all my shows. And so since we've had a little bit of time to kind of take it easy, I've been able to catch up on my Blackish episodes. Like, I'm behind by about 2 seasons. I'm just all the way caught up now. So okay. I'm super excited about that.
Nice. Yeah, thanks, DC, for sharing. I'm all about that, all about the bingeables. But, just figuring out what we need to be binge watching on this coronavirus. But one thing I've really come to enjoy, I'd have to say the runs, man. I'm getting a lot of runs in, trying to average out about, 3 miles a run. So just trying to keep that in-tone body shape, that figure that I'm looking for when the COVID-19 is actually over. So thanks for sharing, and let's keep this podcast moving along. Our topic today is going to be on leadership and resiliency. Now, as I mentioned, we had some coaches join us, and I'm going to throw the topic out there to them and see what they think about what it means to be a leader. But we're not only going to address the leaders listening and the leaders acting, we're even addressing the leaders sitting at home right now, because it's easy to get overwhelmed as a leader. You got siblings looking up to you, your mama looking up to you, your friends leaning on your expertise, and even people in your circle observing your every move. So what is a leader to do in this time? Today we hear from our leaders here at PeerForward and why being resilient is integral and the key to success. So coaches on the line, before we begin, I'll hand it back to our co-hosts. what should our leaders expect from today's conversation? What can we look out for to learn from our coaches?
And so, Tim, thanks so much. We're trying to see really when it comes down to leadership today is how your leadership is evolving in the midst of crisis. So what does leadership look like when you're dealing with the crisis, of course, COVID-19 that's going on right now, and how do you evolve that? When it comes down to, how do you now redefine the concept of leadership when you're self-quarantined, when you aren't able to be able to reach out and touch individuals like how you may have had the opportunity. Right. It comes down to connecting schools, when it comes down to connecting in public, things of that sort. We're also going to talk a little bit about how do you realize you are even becoming a leader right now? Because probably many of you right now that you don't even realize that you're becoming a leader of your own self. So whether that's your actual schedule, how you're going about doing your daily affairs, things of that sort. We're going to talk through all of those things on today's Perfect Play episode.
I'm feeling it, DC. Yeah, you really broke it down for them. Not just the leadership on the playground, but how do you lead yourself? How do you lead your family? How do you become a leader of your entire life being? So with that said, let's give it up for our coaches. We want to give them some time to say hey and introduce themselves, and then I'll throw out that first leadership question. Without further ado, hailing from up top where it don't stop, the big NY, could Mike introduce himself?
What's going on, family? My name is Mike once again. Thank you, Tim, DC, AJ, for holding it down. Here representing New York and the Philadelphia school, so hopefully you all are checking in. Just here to be an active presence, and we'll see what we get on this conversation.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks for joining us. Our next coach, hailing from Wakanda, arms crossed, bonnet tied. Can we make some noise for Baja?
Thank you for that warm welcome, Tim. Yes, I am bonnet on during this whole coronavirus outbreak because telework, that's why. But I'm so excited to be here with everyone today to talk about some issues that affect not only the students, but our advisors and our educators out there. So I'm really excited to be a part of this conversation.
Thanks, Baja. We're happy to have you. Everybody hold your Wakandas up. If you don't know, that's your arms crossed.
Wakanda. Sorry.
You got to say it just like that. All right. Thanks, Baja. So those are our coaches. Don't worry, your co-host, host, and marketing rep will still be here to really drive this conversation. But I'm going to throw those first questions out. Let's start with Mike. So, Mike, you've been a leader for a long time, bro. You're a tall leader in the field, so we can all see you lead the way. But what does leadership look like during this pandemic? I mean, for you, what should it look like for the leaders across the nation? But when you think of leadership, what does it look like to you, Mike?
Honestly, I think when I'm thinking about the idea of leadership, I'm honestly thinking about those non-traditional leadership skills, right? So when we think of leaders, we're always told that leaders are always the most outspoken, the most energetic, the ones out front, the most likable individuals. But really, leadership to me is really being able to recognize the skills you have and valuing your unique self. And I think as a time now where you're in the home, having to navigate family life while also trying to navigate school on a digital space, leadership is being able to check in with yourself, being able to be aware of how you're feeling, what you're doing, how your family's doing, being able to recognize that and own that, being able to take ownership of where you're at and where you want to support and how you can support, understanding that a true leader depends on other people as well to get the task.
We like that true leadership, man. I really dig what you're saying about that leadership. I mean, but Mike, I guess how do you know? You know what I'm saying? Like, at what point did you know you were a leader? Did you wake up like Beyonce like this one day, or you just always had that leadership instinct?
Honestly, often I don't see myself as so much as a leader, but more as an influencer, right? I think growing up, people see things in you that you don't see in yourself, and they'll call it out. But I'm a skeptic, so I often don't believe them. But I do know I have the power to influence, right? I do know that I have something that matters to me. I do know that there are people that I value that I'll lay my life down for in many regards, right? So when I think of leadership and my abilities to influence, I think that's where the idea of leadership really started landing. And you go through, for me at least, I'll say I've been through highs and lows with the idea of how much of a leader I can be. Man.
Thanks, Mike. We appreciate that. I dig what you're saying, man. I'm really feeling this whole leadership vibe you're kicking out to the listeners out there on The Perfect Play.
Yeah, so I actually want to get into this next question for our other coach, Baja. I want to kind of get you into this conversation as well. And so the question that I want to hear from your perspective is that when it comes to leaders, do you believe that leaders are born or do you believe leaders are developed? And if you have any personal, if you will, kind of stories or examples you want to share of why you think either way, would be really great to hear.
Thanks, DC.
No, you got some stories.
I do. And I think that's a really good question, right? So a lot of the time, people self-doubt themselves and aren't sure of their leadership potential. And on the flip side, it can seem or be perceived as, some people being born leaders and natural leaders. But I think everyone at some point had to have that shown to them that they had that quality before they reached their fullest potential. My own personal experience is even with coaching with PeerForward, right? I just saw my involvement as a very surface level thing. And it took some of my own coaches to show my leadership qualities and what I've been doing and how I've been supporting people without my knowledge to realize that I do have leadership qualities as well. So I think, having people around you that support you and pour into you and see the good and believe in your dreams will help you identify your leadership skills and qualities.
So Baja, that's powerful. And I just wanted to double click on the fact that you said having individuals that are able to pour into you in order to see that leadership develop. It's like a plant that when it's in the right environment, when it has the right water, that it actually develops and it flourishes, and that it can not only, feed, but that it can also provide protection to so many other entities. But I also wanted to just go a little bit further in something that you said, is that you said leadership has to sometimes even be seen in yourself. Like Mike talked about earlier, he doesn't always see himself as a leader, but other individuals have been able to show him that. Like, can you talk about a time where you were shown your leadership capacity?
Yeah, let me see that leadership. What the leader working with?
Things as little as, in a workplace environment, right? When one of my first jobs after college was working at a karate studio, and a part of my job was to help with homework. I didn't realize that I was providing an extra service to these students and providing supplemental tutoring services. I just thought I was helping them. But it took my manager noticing my work and seeing what I was doing and giving me a promotion, for lack of a better word, that I really saw that I was creating change within that space and that also I was making an impact.
So the money made you be a better leader.
No, the passion made me a better leader, and the money followed because I, was living in my passion, living in my truth.
Hold on, you got to say that one more time. People need to hear that.
The money didn't drive me; it was my passion that drove me, and then the money followed.
Yeah, I feel you. And that's what it's all about. The passion, the why. What's driving our leader to even be a leader? Your purpose as an individual. And everybody thinks that sometimes you got to be the leader in the forefront, but it starts at home with your family. It starts at school with your friends, with your peers. And so peer leaders and listeners out there, we want to remind you that leadership looks different across the board. Leadership is vast. Leadership comes in all different sizes, short and tall, black or white, big or small. But the fact is that you have to identify within yourself and what's your why as an individual so you can lead with the purpose and really tap into that passion like Baja said. Thank you, Baja. One of the things we do at the summer workshop we ask our peer leaders, we say, who are some leaders in our community? And so Mike and Baja, who are some leaders that you look to as role models, dead or alive? Who are some leaders that have just really made an impact on your leadership style in your entire life?
Yeah, I'll tackle that first, and I think I'll start with a hero of mine to some degree, and I'll say Malcolm X was definitely a leader, someone that I looked up to in his qualities in particular, just because of how I'm a fun-loving guy, but I'm pretty straight to the point, pretty cutthroat, right? And I think Malcolm X also provided that structure that was pivotal to say what was necessary in hard times, but also take action in a real dynamic way. So from a distance standpoint, I think just looking at the qualities that he offered, the structure that he offered was definitely insightful for me as a young man of color at the time. And I would say presently, from a more softer, careful, insightful place, I would say my grandmother. I think my grandmother has been a resilient woman in her life, Jamaican, bred in the country town woman, came to America, right, for a better life. And I think her resilience showed me that there is an opportunity to continue pushing, right? Like every obstacle we face, and we talk about this all the time at PeerForward, but every obstacle has an opportunity and an option to overcome it. And I think that's just something my grandmother represented, and she cared for people deeply. And that's something I bring to the level of work I do and the leadership I represent.
Thanks, Mike. One of my favorite leaders, too, is Malcolm X. And I think that makes a big difference in how you deliver that leadership and even in your family, too. One of Malcolm X's quotes is a simple quote, very short. Stumbling is not falling. And I think that's a great leadership quote to live by, because sometimes we get discouraged even when we stumble as leaders. So thanks for sharing. I'm going to kick it back to my co-host to ask a few more questions to wrap us up on leadership and resiliency.
And then I'll kick it to all of you, but I want to start with Baja again to, if you will, start it off first. But I wanted to know, is there a leader right now out in the world that is actually age-wise younger than you that you admire, and why? Because, of course, this is the Perfect Play podcast. We're, sending this all across the world to our peer leaders, to our young people that are going to change the world. Is there a young leader right now that is physically younger than you that you admire, and why?
Yeah, so there are two. There's one within my family, my niece. She's currently a senior in high school, and she's just overachieving, trying to, pursue her post-secondary plan, and just her resiliency throughout all this COVID-19 stuff, and also, how she's rallying her friends to support each other throughout this time, I think is just mind-blowing. Even me, myself, talking to my own friends, I don't think we're taking that much initiative to check in with one another. So just seeing her practice that, self-care with her friends has just been amazing to witness. And then a young lady, in the greater community that I don't know personally, Greta Sundberg. I don't know if you all are familiar with her, but she's creating change as far as, our environment. And Donald Trump hasn't had some nice things to say about her, but I think just seeing how something so small as a tweet can turn into a global movement, it lights a fire under me as far as my own goals that I want to try to achieve.
Wow, that's solid. Thank you, Baja. To our other coaches.
Yeah, I would say someone right now that I really think is moving the needle in most, it's interesting, the most non-traditional ways. When we think about our celebrities, we don't see them in the most traditional leadership senses, but somebody like Cardi B, right, for all the things that she's done and she's promoted, I think her ability to use her platform to raise awareness on certain injustices or certain things that she's noticing in her community, whether it be conversations around the inequality of coronavirus testing kits that are being passed around, sharing that piece out. I think about individuals simply as our healthcare workers, right? We think about our nurses' aides, we think about our individuals within the hospital. I think those are on two different spectrums, individuals on the ground, individuals that have an influence and voice that can really navigate change, right? So I would definitely look, when we think about the idea of resilience and leadership, those within our healthcare system are those individuals that I really think about in the most direct sense.
Cardi B? Cardi B is a leader.
Yeah, Cardi B's a leader. Why not?
Really know why not. But, sometimes when I think of leaders, I'm thinking, like you said, I'm thinking Malcolm X. I'm thinking the young lady Baja said.
Greta Sundberg.
Greta Sundberg. I almost said that. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not saying Cardi B can't be a leader, but when I'm thinking about leadership and what that might look like, Cardi B didn't come to mind, but the way you spend it, a great spin. Thanks, Mike.
Hey, everybody, it's AJ hopping back in. Definitely, I want to just emphasize the fact that everybody really could be a leader. And there's definitely some leaders I've seen in my community, and that's people who have been delivering food, collecting donations, and making sure that like everybody who's vulnerable in my neighborhood, older folks, people with young children, are taken care of. And that's so huge because, you think about people who are leading on a huge scale with a huge platform, but you never consider like, what's going on your block or, what's going on in your larger community, what's going on from your teachers to your neighbors to folks you might go to church with. All of those people are being leaders in their own communities. And so I think that that's so dope just to see the same people out here representing for what's theirs.
So I'll actually share two people myself when it comes to that I've seen younger leadership that's been really, really dope, in which, of course, we represent all areas when it comes to faith and whatnot. And so there's an individual that is a pastor of a church that is right in his 20s, and just seeing how he's been able to lead his congregation in the midst of everything going on, of individuals that are of his same age range, but also upwards of the 50s, 60s, 70s, and making sure every individual allows themselves to feel comfortable with his leadership, but also that he's very authentic in how he comes across and being able to connect with individuals at that human level. I think that's a big thing when it comes to leadership, especially us as younger leaders, is making sure that we're able to connect at that human level. The other individual that I really think is a great leader that's actually physically younger than me is actually a shout out to my sister-in-law. She's actually a healthcare worker, just actually got off a 16-hour shift in the emergency room department, has dealt with some COVID-19 patients as well, and just seeing her level of care and concern for the people in the community has really just been absolutely profound for me, just seeing that level of dedication when it comes to all the things that are going on right now. And so I just think that's a big thing we want to definitely highlight when it comes to leadership, is that leadership doesn't have an age limit. Leadership doesn't have a stage limit. Leadership is fast. Leadership is flexible when it comes down to it's all about your area of influence. Leadership can be in the public eye. Leadership can be in the private eye. Leadership can be in so very, very, very different areas. And the great part about leadership is that anyone can do it. Anyone can do it. Anyone can be a leader. It's just all about making sure that, number one, you're able to really want to influence for the greater good. And then number two, just being able to navigate and making sure others are able to reach their goals that will ultimately make our society that much greater. We're going to actually pass it over to our phenomenal AJ, where she's going to give us a few tidbits about our summer workshop season, as well as also possibly a little information about how to handle stress during this time.
Absolutely, absolutely. So glad y'all are here with me and still rocking with me. I want to let y'all know that leaders also have another characteristic, and that's that they take every opportunity that they want and that they have in front of them. So one opportunity we do not want you all to miss as peer leaders, as alumni, is applying for summer workshops. Summer workshops 2020 is shaping up to be our most important season yet. We are transforming lives this summer, and we're making sure that students know that they are resilient, they are capable, and they are triumphant. We will come back bigger and better this summer, so please join us on our alumni support team. You can also join us as a volunteer, as a writing coach or a college coach, and give peer leaders the opportunity to tell their stories like they never have before. And so that's just something great. You can go ahead and apply. You can reach our application on PeerForward's website, peerforward.org. Or you can hit us up at alumni@peerforward.org, and we'll send that application over to you. We learn a lot of things during workshops, and one of my favorite things is that we actually, at the top, we tell everyone to take care of themselves. It's a very, very long 4 days, but we can make it a lot shorter. We can make this quarantine a lot shorter by taking care of ourselves, making sure that our bodies, our minds are right, so that when we, make it back outside, we're all good. So the first thing I want to talk about is taking care of your body. Even though you may be working from your home right now, you want to make sure that you're eating regularly and that you hydrate often. Take time to stretch your body out. If you're sitting and, on your couch all day, or if you're sitting in your bed all day, you might notice that certain parts of your body don't feel as great. And that's the time to just get up, go to a more open area, and just stretch your legs out, do some toe touches, reach for the sky, high five a million angels, whatever you have to do to stretch that body out and make you feel better, go ahead and do that. You want to make sure that you're getting plenty of rest. So a lot of us, you might indulge in sleeping a little bit often, and that's cool. Make sure that you're getting plenty of rest. Make sure that you stay to a schedule for going to bed and waking up. If it's 2 a.m., go ahead and just call it quits. Make sure that you're not looking at your phone at least an hour before bedtime to get the best sleep possible. And if you're, feeling stressed out at any point in the day, just remember to breathe deeply. Take a second to inhale and exhale and realize that things will definitely be okay. We make it through the worst of storms, and we'll make it through this one together. And we can make it through that one by taking care of your mind. So even though you might feel a little put off your goals, make sure that you still have them. Think about what they are, write them down. Think about what you can still do to achieve them and what you can do to work towards them at this time. It's definitely going to keep you grounded and keep you forward thinking and super positive. Connect to those who make you happy. You're in the house with your family, and they can definitely be a source of happiness, but making sure that you're reaching out to your friends, to your teachers, to your neighbors, whoever it is that makes you just happy, go ahead and connect with them. It's always time to do that. It's always a good time to give somebody a text or a call. Make sure that you're starting your days by saying 3 things that you're grateful for. It can be really hard to forget and hard to maintain, that optimistic outlook. So just showing gratitude every single day is just an awesome way to reset yourself and reset your mind. Be intentional with your time. So you want to make sure that you're just thinking about what it is that you want to get done in a day. Not being super hard on yourself if it doesn't all get done. Of course, you have, a lot of time, but be intentional with what you want to do. Set intentions at the beginning of your day, and then, have something to look forward to, and another way to think positively about yourself and what you got accomplished by the end of the day. And our last one is really just do something you enjoy. If you haven't figured out what that is, now is a great time to explore new music, explore new hobbies, explore new activities, try a new game, try a new website or whatever. Just try to do something that you've never done before and set your goals really high. And you know what? Take care of your best. Take care of yourself. As long as you're doing your best, that's all that matters. And so just every day remind yourself, hey, did I do my best? Yep. Then keep it going.
AJ just did her best with the interlude. Give it up for AJ in the market interlude.
Yeah.
Thanks, AJ. So the last piece of our
the last piece of our podcast, we want to make sure we can recap the conversation and make sure we can highlight anything we heard from our listeners and our learners today. I'm going to kick it back to DC and do our summarizing colas piece and open the floor for any of our other coaches that want to end with some closing remarks.
So the first thing I'll just say is that I just am absolutely amazed and learned so much from our fellow coaches, as well as also marketing rep AJ, of just seeing how being leaders can just from number one, seeing it within yourself and then being able to take that self-direction. I think that's really big for this current time right now, and just being able to know that if you're able to do those simple things, that already makes you a leader and that you'll be able to develop your leadership that much more.
The coaches were dropping that knowledge, and I appreciate them being able to drop that knowledge and sticking to some of those topics around leadership and resiliency. Let's open the floor up for some colas. No, we don't have a soda, but this is an opportunity for you to share your connections, observations, learnings, or acknowledgments from the conversation. And if you don't like cola, you can also share one of your woes. Were there any wins, opportunities you'd like to take advantage of, or your attitude after the entire podcast episode? So, people on the line, colas and woes. Now's your time to share.
All right, so I'll share a cola. I think one of the observations that I made from this podcast is that we're all dealing with the coronavirus in similar ways. And I think overall, what I took from this conversation is that we all need to check in with each other and realize our own leadership potential, and, use this free time to kind of put those thoughts into action and make those ideas become a reality.
Thanks, Baja, for sharing those colas today. I got another cola from the chat. I'm going to check the chat. And this cola is from our very own mother of operations, Renee Tribbett. And she said one of the things she learned today, leadership is the art of motivating a group of people to act towards achieving a common goal. They are the person in the group that possesses the combination of personality and leadership skills to make others want to follow their direction. Thank you, Renee. Any other colas out there?
Yeah, an observation I had during this conversation is the reality that our leadership will always look different. It will always be produced by different people and really by the needs of other folks. So I think as our peer leaders listen, to continue to check in with themselves about how your leadership shows up and how to make sure you don't discount your leadership.
For me, I observed that leaders come in all different shapes and sizes, big and small. Some people that you might not consider, you can just find leadership in, from your Cardi B's to your next door neighbors. You really just have to do the work of seeing people for who they are in order to realize that there's a leader in everybody.
Thanks, AJ. Thanks, everyone, for sharing your colas today. And that brings us to almost the end. Co-host, any other final remarks on leadership and resiliency before we wrap this perfect play up today?
Absolutely. Just want to make sure that peer leaders know that we as PeerForward are going to be here for you to be able to provide your ability to be great leaders. If you will, just make sure you check out all of our social media as well as also your emails. We've got a lot of great things that are coming up on the horizon for you, just so you're able to know how to continue being that great leader in your schools and in your communities.
And don't forget to sign up to be a leader this summer with PeerForward. Workshop applications are open and they close for alumni support team positions on April 3rd. You can get to that application by going to our website, peerforward.org.
Great plugs, great reminders. Y'all make sure y'all sign up for the summer workshop. I know the corona's got everybody inside the house and a little nervous right now, but I will remind you that the workshops are going down. Well, that's our hope, and we want to see y'all out the house and at our summer training to make sure you get the leadership qualities that you need. Thanks for joining us on The Perfect Play. I'd like to take this time to thank my co-hosts, our marketing rep, and our coaches for joining today's podcast. Give them and yourselves a round of applause. But this is just episode 1. Don't worry. And as we close out, be sure to join us next Tuesday for our episode of The Perfect Play. Well, we'll hand it off to another coach and address the next pressing topic, which will be how to fill out your financial aid and how to complete that, reading that financial aid award letter and making sure that you're getting the most money possible, because now, after you graduate, it's time to send those letters off and transition into your post-secondary journey. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, I'm your host, Tim Spicer, the coach with the most. Uncoachable can't be coached. Please coach me. Thank you for joining The Perfect Play.